Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Rob Talks podcast. And today's episode is episode 31. And today's episode, we're going to be covering a really interesting topic, which is all about gold medal depression. And in fact, I'm even going to be talking about how that can even apply to your own lives and not just to people out there who've won gold medals. So why am I talking about this? I was having some thoughts recently about this because we recently ended the Commonwealth Games, which are hosted here in the UK in Birmingham. And it was an absolutely fantastic event, really creative, really loved the opening ceremony and everything that was going on with it. And it was just fantastic to see so many amazing athletes and so many people that, for one, I go to Loughborough University, and so I recognized quite a lot of the people that were there. But something that really came from it that was apparent that I hadn't seen so clearly before was from certain interviews with certain athletes. And it was this fact of that it felt as though something was changing, in particular with the athletes that had won a lot of gold medals previously or had been world champions for the past few years, or had really just reached the pinnacle of what they could achieve in their career. And it didn't seem as though there was anything else left. And in their interviews, there seemed to be this sense of a lack of motivation, a lack of hunger. And so I wanted to investigate further. What is this all about? And so this is why I stumbled onto this idea that I have spoken about previously, which is all to do with gold medal depression. So, what is gold medal depression? So gold medal depression is where mental health struggles, so that can be depression, it can even be anxiety, it can be in many other forms as well. But it's where we struggle with our mental health after a big achievement. And that's really weird, right? Because we always imagine when we envision in our heads us winning that race or getting that title in life of being a CEO of our own company or of having climbed the corporate ladder for the past 30 years or whatever it may be, and you've now become a director, you're on the board, you are doing amazing within your career, you've achieved that high status, that thing that you imagined, that you envisioned. And then all of a sudden you realize there's nothing else more. There's nothing else more to it. I can't go any higher than this. Or if you think you can go higher than it, you make up new goals. So you go, oh, I've been director of this company. What about if I could be a director of 2 companies or maybe 3? Or maybe I can go to an even higher ranked company in terms of the stock exchange or whatever it may be. You always try and seek, how can I push on? How can I get the next big thing? How can I really get to the next big goal that I set myself? But the thing that we realize is that the issue with these amazing goals that we can have, which can be like being world champion, that can be like getting to the highest role within a corporation or business or whatever you would deem success for yourself to be. Once you realize that highest goal that you ever imagined that you possibly could achieve, or even when you get close to it, you realize that there's nothing else. And that in fact, that you thought most likely you were going to gain all your happiness by achieving X thing. And the truth is that happiness isn't from the destination, it's from the journey that you go through in life. And so, because of that, when you reach that position, you all of a sudden kind of crumble and don't know what to do. And the reason why I saw this so clearly within the Commonwealth Games were with 2 particular interviews. And it was with Adam Peaty and Laura Kenny. So for anybody who doesn't know who they are, Adam Peaty is a world champion breaststroke swimmer, and he has dominated that part of the swimming world and that part of the sport for years and years and years. He has set new world records. He has always been the fastest in the pool. And this Commonwealth Games in the 100-meter breaststroke, where he always dominates, he is always the fastest. Coming off a hard year and a hard season he's had anyway, he lost. He came fourth, I believe, off the top of my head. He has never lost a race since we saw him in his initial Olympic debut, I believe. And so for him to lose was quite a big headline. And so it was like, why did he lose? What happened? And of course, there are multiple reasons upon this of why Adam Peaty lost. For one, he had a broken foot before that race, and so that will have had a massive impact on how he was going to perform anyway. But there also seemed to be in his interviews when speaking about his racing and how he was feeling and everything, this lack of motivation, this lack of grit or determination to win gold, because he's done it before. He's world champion. He's the best of the best. He's achieved the highest that he can possibly get within his sport. There's nothing else for him to do. And so that's where we can start to see how gold medal depression can develop, and even how you can actually start to lose that motivation for chasing after what you're wanting to go for. And it's because you had that one goal, you had that big, outrageous goal of be world champion. You achieve it, and then you go, okay, what about if I can be world champion for 2 years in a row, for 3 years in a row, for 4 years, 5 years, whatever it is? You forever keep extending the goal to try and say, yes, that's what's giving me my motivation. When the truth is, that's not what's motivating you, and that is not what's going to motivate you for the long term. And then moving on to Laura Kenny. Laura Kenny actually is a fantastic cyclist, the wife and partner of Jason Kenny, who's also a fantastic cyclist for Great Britain. And she has won multiple gold medals. She has been one of the fastest sprinters, I believe, that we've had in the cycling world. And she's a fantastic athlete. And really, her interviews are great because she just speaks from the heart, and you can see how happy she is, and you can see how she's gone through all the motions. And for her too, she's had a difficult year, which contributed to why she was feeling a certain way within her interviews anyway. But it was so interesting to hear of the fact that she spoke about how she sympathized so much with Adam Peaty due to the lack of motivation. She even mentioned about the fact that before the race where she won gold in the Commonwealth Games, she had talked to her coach and said that she'd had enough. She had no more motivation for the sport. She had no more motivation in doing what she was doing because it just wasn't fun anymore. It was getting up early in the morning. It was having to do hard yards. But for what gain? For what incentive? There was nothing really left for her to do except to just go win gold again, and that's it. There was nothing left more that she could possibly achieve apart from just culminating the amount of world championships you win, or culminating the amount of gold medals you've won. And so she herself even said within the interview that that sympathy she had with Adam Peaty, that lack of motivation, that is a hinting to a point of where you can unfortunately get to the point of developing gold medal depression. And it doesn't need to be this idea of the word depression in particular, of that it's going to be this life-changing thing that you'll never recover from or anything like that. It can be as simple as just losing motivation, losing the enjoyment, losing the happiness that that sport or whatever you pursue was bringing you before. And so I think, for one, Adam Peaty, for one, bounced back in his next race. And I am sure that as he goes forward in his career, be it in swimming or whatever he does in the future, with time, he will realize what is going to give him that long-term happiness anyway. And I know, for one, that Laura Kenny is a fantastic athlete and individual, and that she, for one, will find in her own way, in her own path, and in growing a family and pursuing her career into the future, that she will find a way as well to find what brings her that long-term happiness. But we have to understand that this isn't a one-time thing that we see in the Commonwealth Games. This isn't even a one-time thing that we may see within the business world or the entrepreneurial world. This is happening all of the time. And it's because the society that we live within sucks us in to become this machine, or to try and become this person that is entirely focused upon success and money. These two pillars, they are what defines us, of what defines our lives, of what defines our happiness. Or at least that's what we believe. Now, the more extreme areas of where gold medal depression has been seen is, in fact, with two astonishing athletes, in fact. And one of them you may have not even realized. But for one, Michael Phelps, another swimmer, multiple Olympic champion and world champion, and I believe is one of the most decorated Olympians that there has ever been, struggled with depression and anxiety even after winning all those medals. He lost what he got from swimming, from competition, from that motivation that he had, that desire he had to win more. As soon as that was gone and the opportunity was gone, and he'd achieved more than anybody has possibly ever achieved before, he didn't have anything else to do. There was no purpose left. There was no motivation left, because he'd done it. He'd got to this high pedestal of being one of the most successful athletes there has ever been in Olympic and swimming history. And there was nothing else more to do. There was no more challenge. There was no more incentive. There was no more motivation. And the second athlete is somebody that I've forever been following, because I think, even for one, he has said some stupid things in his career, but he has also said many things that I think we can all relate to. And that person is Tyson Fury. Now, Tyson Fury, I'm sure, will divide opinion, but if you know his story, and I'm sure there's even a documentary on YouTube about it, Tyson Fury, early on within his career, became world champion. He defeated one of these amazing, and the name evades me at the moment, the Klitschko's, that's it. He defeated one of the main Klitschko's to win the world championship, and he did it in their backyard. It was this huge thing that he was now the world champion. Britain finally had a world champion boxer again in the heavyweight division. But then after that, he didn't know what to do. There was nothing else left to do. There was nothing more to be said. There was nothing more to be done. He'd become world champion. There wasn't really anything else he could do. And Tyson Fury himself massively struggled with his mental health after winning that world championship. And it can be seen evidently, as he's spoken about within interviews, and it's seen within this documentary, of that he gained weight, his eating habits went off, he had no motivation to do the sport anymore, and he didn't know what to do and was struggling within his life. And I think if there is anybody who was to show clearly how an athlete has suffered gold medal depression, Tyson Fury shows it. The key thing with Tyson Fury is the fact that he also shows that you can get out of it. You can actually overcome gold medal depression. It isn't something of that you achieve this big success, you do these amazing things, and then you look back and go, oh, I've wasted 20 years of my life or something like that. That is not the case for what this is. The whole point is that you can take that as a chance to reflect and realize, right, what I thought brings me happiness, or what I thought brings me the incentive and motivation to get up every morning, clearly is not what it is. It's not being world champion. It's not being highly decorated Olympian. It's not achieving X position in this company. It's not achieving X amount of wealth. It is a lot more likely to be something that is more deeply ingrained with you, that is much more ingrained within a passion and purpose, and something that is meaningful. And I truly believe that the way that Tyson Fury, in fact, has bounced back to now becoming world champion again, from being world champion to dropping to his lowest of lows to now being world champion again, and I would say, in my opinion, probably the best heavyweight boxer that there is out there at the moment. He has truly found true purpose and meaning within his career and within his life. You can just see it within his family. You can see it within how he goes about his boxing and the motivation that he now has and the drive he has for the sport and for his career and for what he does within his life, even being a massive advocate for mental health and trying to help men in particular with their mental health. He is a fantastic example of how you can hit the lowest of lows, but you can recover and even get to this new space, this new point in life where you truly understand what makes you happy. And so I have alluded to it there, but the key answer to all of this of how do you either prepare yourself so you don't get gold medal depression, or how do you even overcome it if you are within that space? It's finding truly what your purpose is within that area. What is the thing that's going to motivate you for the long term? And the issue is that it is so easy to misconstrue even what I'm saying here, because long term for some people is 5 years, it's 10 years. No, I don't mean that. It's not 5 years. It's not 10 years. It's not 20 years. It's not 30 years. Long term is thinking about the majority of your life. That is like 70, 80 years in some cases, especially, I guess, with people my age and as medicine increases and yada, yada. That is where we stand. Long term is that kind of length. It's what is going to really be this form of infinite goal, this form of purpose and motivation and passion that you have, that you know, no matter what, you would never lose the drive for it. And I'm sure that people can even see within their own lives now, if you take time to reflect and you feel as though that where you are in life, you're just adding goals on top of goals. You are achieving a goal and then just adding another layer to it. Consider, why are you doing that? Is it because you're chasing happiness? Is it because you're chasing something? Or is it actually a part of a journey that is you achieving this more infinite minded goal, for you fulfilling your purpose and fulfilling that meaning that you have within your life and doing what you are passionate about? If that is more the case, then you are a lot less likely to struggle with this potential of having gold medal depression. And I think that there is so much of an element in it of understanding it's not about the destination. It is all about the journey. We live this one lifetime, this finite lifetime. And so we have to use it wisely. And we have to use it no matter what our age is, whether you're a young teenager listening to this, or maybe you're retired and you've finished with your career. You have to use the time that you have and the finite time that you have to focus on what is actually going to make you happy, and not what society pushes upon you or what you think success is because of what society has said or what others have said. It is truly what you believe success for you is and what happiness is for you. Once you realize what that is, then you will always have motivation. You will always be able to be resilient. And ultimately, you will enjoy the journey of life. You have been listening to the Rob Talks podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the follow button if you're listening on Spotify, and I will see you next week for the next Rob Talks video. You have just been listening to the Rob Talks podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and please make sure to subscribe and give me a follow on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, or even LinkedIn. And I will speak with you soon. Stay safe and have a great week.